Okay, so I constantly say that I don't want to tell people what happened to my shot because I don't want to make good shooters think. And I still don't want to make good shooters think. And I don't want to make people think about it because you can't teach what I did. And I can go into way more details about shooting, about what the shoot away rack did to prevent me from shooting good and how I really was an incredible shooter. People think I was the best shooter in the country. You know, I was an incredible shooter, and I do know the shoot away messed up my shot. And I don't want to make good shooters think, but I will go into some detail, but I can go into explicit detail, very big detail on a bunch of other stuff in regards to it. But that's what I don't want to make people think about. But I'll just go into very minor detail. I don't want to make good shooters think, but I'll go into very minor detail. So this is what happened with the shoot away machine. So when I had the shoot away machine, there's a big basket right here. The ball, I shoot the ball, it goes, it's a big net that goes around the rim. I shoot the ball, and first off, that's going to mess up my shot a little bit because it makes you shoot with more arc than you normally would. It's just, nothing was positive about the shoot away machine. But I shoot it up, it goes into the net, and then it goes down, and then it rolls down a rack. This was the original shoot away machine. It's not a gun, it's the original shoot away machine. It goes down the rack, you pick it off the rack, and then you shoot. Now, when I was younger, I was such a good shooter because every single day my dad and I would shoot. And my dad would always get my rebounds and he'd pass to me. Now, because of that, I'm not going to go into details, but just think of it. I'm catching the ball. I'm moving into it naturally, right? Okay, it's just natural. Everything's natural because I'm not picking the ball off a rack. There's not something occluding my path, right? So I'm catching it from passes from my dad, okay? And I'm shooting, okay? Right? Now, when I got the shoot away machine, this is why my dad didn't figure it out, was because, I always shot a little bit low, right? So I'm catching the ball, and I was the best shooter in the country. I won a national championship playing with the best teams in the country, the #1 teams in the country. We never lose. And it's because my dad would pass to me every day, and I would practice, and I just catch it naturally, and I move into it natural for a good shot. And my dad would always tell me, Ryan, shoot sideways. And if there was ever any problem, he would tell me something like, Ryan, your feet are a little bit too wide, so make them less wide, or Ryan, a little more arc, and stuff like that, and that would help me. And that's why I was so good, was because I was unconscious. I didn't know how I was shooting, because my dad would always help me, and he would always, if there was any problem, he would always fix it. But then when I got the shoot away machine, it just happened that at the same exact time, my dad wanted me to start shooting overhead. Now, before I got the shoot away machine, I was shooting overhead. And I'd be in the backyard, and my dad has a video of me, and I'm catching it, and I'm stepping into it nice, shooting, making every single shot. So my shot was perfect shooting overhead. But picking the ball off the rack, I have a video, and this is why I know it happened. I'm picking the ball off the rack, so I would start to pick the ball off the rack, and I would step because the rack is right here, so I can't step natural. The way that I would used to shoot, and I'm not going to make good shooters think, and I could go into way more detail on how good shooters shoot, but I'm not going to make good shooters think. I'm going to go only very, very, very surface level. But I can go deep, deep into stuff. But very surface level, and I can go into way more stuff that the rack prevented me from doing that good shooters do. But like I said, I was considered the best shooter in the country. I'd be catching the ball, doing everything natural, right? But when I pick the ball off the rack, it's right here. Now, when I was a good shooter, this is the very basics. When I would shoot, this leg, the left leg, would be pointed out this way. And that's what my dad always told me. He'd say, Ryan, shoot sideways. All that sideways meant was this leg was pointing out that way. And that's just natural. It's natural that if I'm shooting the ball at the rim right here, my left leg is going to be pointed out like this, right? And that's what I did naturally. But my dad would, he emphasized that. Shoot sideways. I did this naturally. My left leg pointed out. Now, when I got the shoot away rack, I would be catching the ball. And it happened to be the same time that my dad started wanting me to shoot overhead. So I think my dad thought it was because I was shooting overhead. But like I said, I have a video of me shooting overhead before the shoot away, and I'm making every single shot. It's not because I was shooting overhead, and I was shooting right. So, but with the rack, I would pick the ball up, and then because the rack's right here, I can't step. And I could go way more into details about how people move into shots, but I'm not going to because I want to make sure to think. But I can't step in a way or move into the shot in a way that my left leg is going to be pointed out. So when I was picking the ball off the rack, I can't. The rack's right here. So I was picking the ball off the rack, and I would step like this, or step straight forward, or step to the side and then shoot, okay? But in that video of it, I would be catching it, and I'd go like this. and then I'd shoot. And then I'd go around the other way, and I'd catch it, and I'd go like this, and then shoot. And I'd go the other way, and I'd catch it, and I'd pick the ball off the rack, and then go like this, and then shoot. Now, what that ended up doing is I ended up starting to shoot like this, because I'm stepping like this, and then I was starting to shoot with my left foot in front of my right. Now, I was always unconscious, so I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't know there was something wrong with my shot. My dad was saying, Ryan, you're shooting square. Shoot sideways. And the way I shot sideways, like I said, my left leg would be pointed out. My right leg would be pointing toward the basket, okay? I'm going to get to this and how my dad ended up messing it up. But my left leg would be pointed out, my right leg pointing toward the basket. And then I'd shoot. It was automatic. I was the best shooter in the country. And I can go to way more details about how you move into it, all that, but I'm not going to because I don't want to make good shooters think. But once I got the shoot away, I picked the ball off the rack and I'm stepping like this and I'm shooting. Well, my left leg starts going in front of my right because of how I'm moving into my shots. And then, if you would see me in the games at that time, I'd be in the game and I'd catch it and I'd hop like this and I'd shoot, just like I was practicing picking the ball off the rack. But like I said, I was always unconscious. I didn't know how I shot. And then my dad would be like, Ryan, you're shooting square. You're shooting with your left foot in front of your right. Yeah, because now I know because of the way I was picking the ball off the rack and shooting. That would make me do that. But before, when my dad would just pass to me, I'm not going to go into details, but I would move into it naturally. You know, I'd catch the ball natural, stepping away. That's going to make me it's just natural. But you're picking the ball off a rack, it's not going to let you do that. You're going to do this. Or go step straight forward and then do this. And when I'm stepping straight forward, because there's a rack here, my left foot is going to start pointing straight forward, right? And my right foot's going to be like this, and I'm going to be shooting, as my dad said, square, which he didn't like. I'm going to be shooting like this. Whereas before, my left foot always would be pointed out this way, and I would shoot like this. My left leg pointed out. That's what my dad meant by sideways. He always wanted me to shoot sideways. But then, so I'm picking the ball off the rack and I'm shooting. I never thought about how I shot, so I don't know that I'm shooting wrong. My dad's like, Ryan, you're shooting square. But I didn't know that. So I'm picking the ball off the rack, shooting. Then I go around this way, step right foot. Now when I would go around the rack this way and step right foot, left foot, my right foot would be in front of my left, and my left foot would be pointed out because the way I'm stepping into it. And so at this point, when I got the shoot away machine, this was my go-to shot, stepping like this. And I never shot like that before. But that was my go-to shot because that would be the only way I could shoot sideways. But once I got the shoot away machine, when I'd be in the game and I'd catch it, I would go like this, boom, boom. And then my left foot would be in front of my right, and it messed up my shot. I'm shooting square, and I'm not shooting sideways, as my dad said is a great shooter shoot that I know. Now I can go into way more detail, but I'm not going to, about how good shooters shoot. So, long story short, I'm starting to shoot like this, and my dad's mad at me. Ryan, why are you shooting square? What's going on? You're shooting square. You're shooting with your left foot in front of your right. What's going on? Okay, so we're starting to get in arguments and fights in the backyard. I don't know that I'm shooting square because I never thought when I played, and that's why I was so good. That's why I had fan clubs of girls. I'm not gonna go into details about the swag flow, but I never thought. I never knew. I had no awareness of how I moved. It was all automatic. So now that my dad's saying you're shooting wrong, I don't know what's wrong because I just play. I don't think. I never thought when I played. So this is around 7th grade when we start getting in arguments. But in 8th grade, 9th grade, I'm still scoring 40 points a game, 50 points a game. I was one of the best players in the country. But then, I'm a starting point guard on varsity as a freshman. My shot is completely messed up. At that point, I'm shooting completely with my left foot in front of my right, like this. And then if you see me in the games, I'm going like this. Just like I picked the ball off the rack. Okay, but then I lose my starting spot, my 10th grade year. My dad gets upset. He's like, I'm not going to go to games anymore because I'm too mad at the coach. But really, he was mad at me. Then I'm shooting with my dad in the backyard, and my dad's like, Ryan, you're shooting square. And I'm like, Dad, I'm just shooting. And then I continue shooting. I remember I was trying to be good, but then my dad was like, fuck it, I give up. I give up. There's no use anymore. You suck now. I give up. But then I felt like I needed my dad's help because my whole life he would help me, and I didn't know how to fix my shot. I didn't even know there was something wrong with my shot. He's the one telling me there's something wrong with my shot. So I'm like, Dad, come on. 15 more minutes, let's do this. Let's shoot a little bit more. He's like, no, I give up, you suck. Okay, so he goes inside. But then I'm like, Dad, come on, please. Just a little bit more. That's when the abuse started to happen. That's when he started to beat me up. He's like, you ask me one more time, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm like, come on, Dad, please. Then he would grab me, throw me to the ground, and that's when the physical abuse started to happen. But this is what I'm trying to say. But he continued to try to help me, and we continued to try to fix it. But we didn't. So then what my dad would start doing is he'd be like, okay, pick the ball off the rack, Ryan. Not realizing the rack was the problem in the first place. Pick the ball off the rack, stand with your left foot right here, and then put your right foot in front, and then shoot. So I'd be in the backyard. Remember, why was I such a good shooter before? Because my dad would just pass to me, and I would catch it and shoot. It's just automatic. I never had to think about it. It's just automatic. But then, and like I said, my left foot would be pointed out this way always, and my right foot would be pointed toward the rim. That's the way great shooters shoot. So I'm just catching it, left foot out, right foot toward the rim, shot. That's what you make it every time when you do that. But I'm not gonna go into details about all the other stuff. But that's essentially the way good shooters shoot. Left foot out, right foot toward the basket, shot. But now I pick the ball off the rack. I can't put my left foot out because the rack's right here. So I'm stepping like this and going like this. Then my dad says, okay, well, put your left foot right here and then put your right foot forward. So now I'm shooting like a robot, picking the ball off the rack and doing this. And then my dad's like, good, that's good. Now you're sideways. And then my dad told me, keep your left foot pointed toward the rim and put your right foot pointed out this way. That's the exact opposite of what I did when I was considered the best shooter in the country. And that's the complete opposite of what best shooters do. There's a few shooters who are pigeon-toed, like maybe Kevin Durant, maybe Michael Jordan a little bit, who will shoot with their left foot forward and their right foot like this. And I had a friend who had a shoot-away machine. His name was Nick Turley, and he would do that. He was left-handed, but he would do that, and he would pick off the shoot-away machine and do this. And my dad was like, yeah, Nick Turley's a good shooter, do that. So I'm doing this. He completely changed my shot, the complete opposite of what it was. Before, I'd always shoot my left foot out, right foot forward. So then I'm in the backyard picking the ball off the rack doing this, going like this. And my dad's like, good, that's how you should shoot. But of course, then I'm in games and I'm missing my shots. My dad come to my game and he'd be like, you fucking suck. You're playing terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but can you help me? Can we fix my shot a little bit? My dad's like, I'm not gonna help you. It's no use. You fucking suck. And then we would get in an argument because I would felt like I needed his help. And he'd be like, no, it's no use. You suck. Yeah, it was no use because I was practicing picking the ball off a rack, which was a problem in the first place, but we didn't know that. So now my mom and dad want to make it into like, oh, you have some sort of problems, Ryan. You have OCD problems, and my grandpa comes in. He's like, oh, well, Ryan just wants independence, and he's just, needs to accept bad. He needs to accept bad calls, and he needs to just, understand that everything's just fine. But everything is just fine. The universe is moving toward synergy, and everything's just fine. But I'm like, but I needed help with my shot, and my dad always helped me. So at this point, I'm like. So my dad would help me sometimes, and he'd be like, okay. And the thing is, I know that sometimes he would help me by passing me. He would pass to me, and I'd start shooting, and I'd be catching passes. And because I didn't think, I would automatically start shooting right. My dad would be like, see, you're shooting good now. I fixed it. And I'd be like, okay, cool. But then I'd go back to shooting, picking the ball off the rack, which was making me shoot bad. And then my dad would come back out, and he'd be like, what the hell? You're shooting wrong. And to me, it's kind of unbelievable that he couldn't see this, and that, I couldn't see it. I was young. I never knew about basketball. I was young. I never thought about my shot, but he couldn't see it for whatever reason. So that's what was going on. And then, so like I said, then my dad's like, okay, so I'm in the backyard and I'm practicing. I pick the ball off the rack and I'd step straight forward and do this. And that's how I'd practice all the time. So I'd be in the games and I'd catch the ball just like I'm practicing, going straight forward, just like I'm picking the ball off the rack. Shoot, no great shooter shoots like that. No great shooter shoots like that. I can go into details about how players move into shots, but it was a shoot away machine, the rack, that was messing it up. The rack going like this. So then, long story short, it led to chaos between me and my dad and fighting, and I needed my dad's help. He's like, I give up. Then abuse happens. Then my mom gets involved, but my mom thinks I'm the problem. Why can't you just... First off, she was mad at me because my shot was messed up. She's like, you fucking suck. You're a shooter. What's wrong with you? In my mom's mind, this is what she told me. She told me later, it's because you became mentally ill and you started falling apart because you couldn't handle the pressure. You couldn't handle the pressure. That's not what the fuck happened. It wasn't the pressure. It was the shoot-away machine. I was always excellent under pressure. I was a starting point guard on varsity as a freshman because I'm very good under pressure. I'm the best under pressure. It was the shoot-away messing up my shot. Because then I'm in the game and I'm stepping straight forward and I'm going like this. Just like I'm practicing in the shoot. No great shooter shoots like that. Great shooters, I'm not going to go into details, but great shooters, it's natural. And the best ones shoot the left leg pointed out, right leg toward the basket, right toe toward the basket, left toe pointed out, just like this. That is that simple. Just like this. It's not rocket science, but my dad started to make me go like this. Because I'm picking the ball off the rack, he's trying to make me shoot sideways, and he's trying to make me, because he thought that shooting sideways was the key. It's not shooting sideways. It's left foot pointed out is the main thing. If your left foot's pointed out, you're going to be fine. And your right foot pointed toward the basket. Like that. And I looked at the video. So it took me till 2019. So even all the way up to 2019, I was still shooting with my left leg pointed out, but my right foot like this. Because I still thought that that's what my dad wanted me to do. But around 2019, I started studying the videos a lot of when I was younger. And I was playing at Compton College, and the coach told us, yeah, put your right foot forward and your left foot pointed out. And I started shooting like that, and I started looking at the videos and seeing how I would shoot, and I fixed it. And I saw more things about how I moved in shots, so I'm not going to go into details. But the very basic thing, great shooters do a bunch of stuff, and I was the best of the best, and I can go into details about a lot of stuff, but I don't want to make great shooters think. But the very basic thing is you shoot your left foot pointed out, your right foot pointed forward, like this. It makes you quote-unquote sideways, but with the shoot away, I'm picking the ball off the rack. I can't step like that. I started going like, I'd be in the backyard just going like this. Pick the ball off the rack and do this. My dad's like, good, shoot form shots like this. Do 100 form shots. And then I'm shooting bad in games, no wonder, my dad's upset. My dad, first off, he stopped going to my games. And I wanted him to go to my games so he could look at my shot. But then he's like, no, I don't want to go. It's because I'm mad at the coach, or no, I don't want to. But my grandpa tried to make me the bad guy. My grandpa's like, well, you stopped going to your games because you were treating him bad because you were playing bad. That's not what happened. I just wanted my shot to be fixed. And I didn't really care so much that he was going to my games. I wanted him to come out in the backyard and shoot with me. This is where the fights happen, because then he'd be like, oh, you fucking suck. I give up. It's no use anymore. You suck. But I'd be like, see, I didn't even know my shot was bad. I didn't know what was wrong with it. I didn't even know. He was the one who always told me, so I needed his help. So I'm like, Dad, come on, shoot with me for a little bit more. And then you ask me again, I'm going to fuck you up. Then he beat me up. Okay? That's how the abuse happened. And ever since then, my mom and dad made me out to be a bad guy. They're like, you remember how horrible you were in high school? You have obsessive compulsive problems. You were mentally ill. That my mom's like, but that's what my mom wants to believe, because she was a part of the beating me up too. And in her mind, she wants to say, oh, it was because you had mental illness and you couldn't handle the pressure and trying to blame me, make me the bad guy. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. What happened was a shoot away machine, So that's the very basics about what happened, but that's like essentially it. But I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to make good shooters think. But I can go into big details about that type of stuff. But but to this day, my grandpa's like, I want to talk to my mom and dad, and then I get in an argument with my grandpa about that, and he'd be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're software. And he's like, you just want to get your way. You just want to get your way, so I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to give you your way. So my grandpa hasn't talked to me for a long time. He hasn't studied with me. But the thing is, where does that come from? It comes from they still have contempt for me and hatred for me from high school when I needed my dad's help. And I'm like, Dad, I need your help. And my grandpa's like, Ryan, you can't you always get your way. Everything's just fine. Everything's just fine in the universe. Everything is just energy. You need to, have trust. Dude, not everything was just fine. The shoot away was messing up my shot. My dad was beating me up. Not everything was just fine, And that's what, and that's what kind of fucks me up where, like for instance, when I was with Katie, Katie was like, when I was asking, like, how's the baby doing? When she was pregnant, I want to know, how's the baby doing? She's like, Ryan, everything's just fine. And that triggers me because I'm like, that's making me think about when my grandpa's like, everything's just fine, when not everything was just fucking fine. I was being abused. And now to this day, I'm cool. I'm not even mad at my mom and dad. I'm like, it was a tragedy and it was because of the shoot away machine. Now I want to move on, but they don't. They're the ones who are still like, you have mental problems. Because I know in my mom's mind, she's thinking, oh, you just couldn't handle the pressure and you fell apart and you were obsessive compulsive and you can't just accept no for an answer. So, your dad's never going to talk to you again. Because when I wanted my dad to help me fix my shot, my grandpa would be like, Ryan, you have to learn to accept bad calls. Everything's fine in the universe. Just, you need to learn acceptance and everything is one and everything is truth. And so I'm like, okay, but to this day, my mom's like, Ryan, your dad's never going to talk to you again, because they kicked me out of the house at that time. Your dad's never going to talk to you again. He's never going to see you again. You have to accept that. We're never going to see you again. You have to accept that. And they're getting it from my grandpa. And you can't get your way. You can't always get your way. You have to accept that. You can't force people. You can't, my grandpa thinks that I have a making things happen problem or a forcing people problem. Dude, at the time, yes. It wasn't, but what I'm trying to say is it wasn't because there was something wrong with me. It was a shoot away machine messed up my shot and I needed help. I was so good because I was automatic. So I didn't know how to fix it. So I needed help. But, my mom and dad, they're like, well, you're just trying to make things happen. Or then my grandpa comes in, well, you're right. You can't make things happen. You just have to accept everything's just fine and just accept. But I needed help. My shot was messed up. And my dad was the one who was telling me I didn't know how to fix it because I never knew. I didn't even know what was wrong with my shot. I didn't know it was a shoot away machine. It took me to college looking at videos to figure out it was a shoot away machine. So, but to this day, it's still that. It's like, so I try to talk to my mom and dad. I want to talk to my mom. First off, she'll hang up on me right away, but I'll call her and be like, Mom, can I see you and Dad sometime? No, Ryan, you can't make things happen. You can't force people to see. You can't force things. You can't make things happen. You can't get you. And I want to talk to my grandpa. I want to study my grandpa. My grandpa's like, oh, you just want to get your way. I don't want to expose myself to your software because they're still mad at me from high school, but they didn't know it was because of the shoot away machine. So that's basically it.